It's Thursday. Don't the weeks just fly on by? I had quite a busy day yesterday, but mid-afternoon I went for a walk, as I always do, down to one of the beaches. One of the advantages of living on a rocky peninsula is that there's small coves and bays and rocky inlets in all directions, pretty much. I went to the closest beach over the hill out of the village and down to the sea. I sat for a while on the beach and watched the waves come in rough. There's been a storm out in the Atlantic, obviously. Rough waves coming in. And then walking home, my head mulling on what I'd been working on. My eye was suddenly grabbed by 50 yards ahead of me. A fox walked out from the hedge on one side of the road and passed into the hedge on the other side of the road. And the fox, as it got to the middle of this quiet lane on which I was walking, stopped and looked at me, and I stopped and looked back, and our eyes met. And immediately, of course, I began to wonder what life for the fox was like, what the fox could see when it looked at me. I began to try to understand the fox. The fox presumably did not try to understand me. It saw that I was not an imminent threat, but nor was I interesting, and so it turned back and carried on across the lane, disappeared into the thicket by the side. By the time I reached where he or she had been, there was no sign of it. Immediately my mind began to work on what could it mean? What could it represent? What does it symbolize? How could I write about it? How could I make meaning from it? Immediately use this encounter with a wilder world somehow to enhance my understanding or to communicate with other humans. I wonder. I'm reading a book at the moment which suggests a sort of a relationship between the home, the field, and the wilderness. The home is where we are safe and aware, and we are who we are. And the wilderness is that which we cannot know, and the field is where the wild and the human meet. It is natural wild processes, but cultivated. By definition, the wilderness is not there for our convenience. If it is there for our convenience, it is not the wilderness, it is a field. It is something we are cultivating, using. The fox is not there for my convenience. In fact, the whole notion of my safe space, my domestic space, that which I know is only possible if there exists places that I am not safe, that are not meant for me, if there exist things that I do not and cannot know. It is the wilderness that makes being human possible. And if we attempt to dominate the wilderness, we erase what it is to be human. So I stood on the lane and I looked at the fox and realized I could not know what it is like to be a fox, and nor should I try. The fox is the fox, and in its existence lies mystery, and in that mystery lies my ability to explore and to think and to wonder and to live in awe of the power and the extraordinary diversity of the wild. And as always, so without, as without, so within. There are other people and elements of their behavior that I seek to try to explore, why did she do that? Why did he do that? But other people are ultimately unknowable. There's elements of other people that are knowable, but ultimately they're unknowable. Of course they are. We are ultimately unknowable to ourselves. We can dig down and we can see what we did and why we did it, and we can dig deeper and see our deeper drivers, but in the end, we are unknowable. There is within a wilderness, there is within that which we can never penetrate, and we shouldn't even try to. So where does this go? It goes to a big question which came to me from that fox, which is, can we abandon this obsessive need to try to understand everything, to dominate the world by our rationality, and instead let things be? Let those elements of ourselves that we cannot understand, acknowledge them and let them be. Let other people be. Let the world be. Doesn't mean giving up. It means knowing what we can know, controlling what we control, influencing what we can influence, and being grateful that we live in a place of enormous mystery, internally and externally, because mystery gives us the space for curiosity, and curiosity is the creative fuel of life. Now there's an irony, having decided that I would not try to understand or make anything of the fox. I've tried to understand and make something of my encounter with the fox, because that's what humans do. We make meaning. But perhaps sometimes we should also notice that's what we do and resist some of the more obsessive energies of trying to turn our entire unknowable world into a domesticated backyard. Have a lovely day, my friends. Have a really lovely day.